Show me that you got some weight to you, that there is some power behind you. You've come into my kingdom. You're talking all of this. Show me who you are. And Moses digs in his bag of tricks that he's been trained by God to utilize. And he pulls out the rod. Aaron pulls out the rod. Bam! Turns into a serpent. Pharaoh said, call my sorcerers. They all throw down their rod, every last one of them. And they turn to serpents. Aaron's one serpent against Pharaoh's sorcerers, multiple sorcerers. Serpent. It just wasn't one serpent against another one. It was multiple serpents. And Aaron's serpent eats up all of Pharaoh's. Verse 11, chapter 7. Pharaoh called, verse 10. And Moses and Aaron went unto Pharaoh, and they did so as the Lord had commanded. And Aaron cast down his rod before Pharaoh and before his servants, and it became a serpent. Then Pharaoh called the wise men and the sorcerers. Now the magicians of Egypt, they also did in like manner with their enchantments. For they cast down every man his rod, and they became serpents. But Aaron's rod swallowed up their rods. Friend, they're going to throw everything at you but the kitchen sink. You've got to have what it takes to step into the circle. You've got to be able to go before Pharaoh and do what God told you to do. Moses did not have a choice. God never came to Moses and said, what do you think about going to Egypt? What do you think about going back to Egypt and doing X, Y, and Z? He never did that. He said, you're going to get up and go back. You're going to take them shoes off. Forget about all of that nonsense you went through up until this point, because I'm going to do something new. He didn't judge Moses for having dusty shoes on. Moses' shoes were dusty because Moses walked through hell and high water. But that hell and high water that Moses walked through made him a very capable individual. So capable that God will use him in a profound way. You don't see Moses ashamed of his shoes. He's saying these shoes, I ain't giving these shoes up. Why would I take these off and go get new ones? I haven't proven these new ones. These shoes right here work. I'm keeping this until I get a word from God, and then I'll change it. You can call it what you want. I don't care. It works. Yet when God told him to take them off, he took them off. And from that moment on, Moses' life would be better, and it would be completely different. Moses would go into Pharaoh's kingdom. And because because everybody was looking, God would harden Pharaoh's heart, and he would use this situation to show his power amongst a new generation of people. A people that knew nothing of him. The same God reintroduces himself after the flood to a new world of people under new names. We get to the last plague, which is the Passover. And Pharaoh would let these people go. The children would gather the earrings as God told Moses they would do from the beginning of the Egyptians. They would borrow. It would come a time in the Egyptian kingdom where the children would be able to borrow from the kingdom, those of the kingdom, and be granted through borrowing riches that they never could have gotten before. You never hear of the children having such favor with the Egyptians to the point where they would allow them to borrow jewels and gold and all these resources like they were able to do. God would set it up where these children would have the ability, if they saw themselves worthy enough, to borrow. Some would borrow a little because they only felt like, okay, I'm not really sure. About borrowing, so I'm only going to borrow a little. And some would borrow more than a little. They would all borrow from the kingdom because of the plagues. The plagues would rock the kingdom. It would somewhat change the fabric of the lives of the people. It would open up a situation where people were more open to doing such things than they would have ever been before. And the children, after the Passover, would be granted the ability to leave Egypt. And Pharaoh wouldn't be able to let go still. And that's the thing with people. You would have thought Pharaoh would have been glad to see these people leave. And on one hand, he was. But he had nothing outside of these people. They were a blessing. They were the labor. They were the spiritual protection. When the children of Israel left Egypt, Egypt was in shambles. Moses had defeated the priesthood. The second time. The first time was when he ran Balaam out. The second time is when God sent Moses back. And he defeats the kingdom. Egypt is a shell of herself at this point, after Moses and Aaron depart. And they need these people more than ever. They will never regroup. After such things, we find that when you look at history, the Philistines had already come and pressed themselves upon Israel. To the point, we can trace this through the Apocrypha. The Apocrypha speaks to another dynamic going on. The Philistines would have already come and waged war against Egypt. So, at this point, Egypt is no longer a mighty place. It's phasing itself out. The power structure is dwindling down. And the transference of power has shifted from Egypt to this tiny group of people that will come out of Egypt. which are the Israelites. Next Bible study, we will get deeper in this. Always looking to be useful to you. You love more than you'll ever know. I'll never stop telling you. Be good to yourselves and be good to one another. Peace and love.